Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here on Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z. Martin, and today we are talking about our favorite episodes, the must-watch episodes for season 5. But before we get into that, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a fan since season 3. I started writing fanfic in 2012, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the podcast, So Get This, The Lore of Supernatural Fanfic on Spotify.
Very good. Sumiko.
Oh, hi. My name is Sumiko Saulson. I'm a horror writer and a paranormal romance writer, and I've been a fan since season 2. My father was a fan, so he introduced me to it, and I've been hooked ever since.
Very good. Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and I've been watching since that very first episode aired, these many years ago now.
Anna.
I'm Anna Kensing. I'm a writer, and I have been watching since season 1. Since pretty much the very beginning. I have dabbled a bit in fanfic and otherwise write queer romance with characters who are sometimes rather similar to Sam and Dean.
Funny how that works.
And I'm Gail Z. Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But all my modern worlds are ones where Sam and Dean can walk into and feel right at home. I fell in love with Supernatural halfway through season 11, binge watched 11 seasons in 4 months for the start of season 12, fell down the rabbit hole, have not come back up for air, hope I never do, and proudly claim to be obsessed fan. So let's, there are so many great episodes. We might end up loving them all. That's totally okay. Let's do one episode each and just go around multiple times so that everybody gets a chance to chime in on their favorites. So Carole, start us off.
I love season 5. Love it, love it, love it. There's some really marvelous episodes. The story arc is exciting and heartbreaking. And I'm going to dive right in with the end. The end.
I could have guessed that.
Is so marvelous. It's a step outside the plot, although then it turns out that there's a reason for it within the arc, so Dean is sent to the future. And the future is really not good. It's very post-apocalyptic. The Croatoan virus has destroyed the country, the world. And he ends up meeting himself. And he has to convince himself that he is himself, which he does with the very legendary pair of Rhonda Hurley's pink panties, because he liked wearing them. So once he's convinced,
she forced him.
Yes, but he kind of liked them. Once he's convinced future Dean that he is Dean, he gets to experience some of the world, which is very strange. Things are topsy-turvy. And he sees actually that he has, for all that he used to say he was a stone cold killer, he sees that he really is a stone cold killer. And that at the very end, Sam has let Lucifer wear him. So he's Samifer. And it's really, really, it's all bad. It's all bad. Well, it's all bad for them, but it's wonderful viewing for us. Jensen Ackles delivers really a staggering performance of being the two very different Deans. Jared comes in at the end. He only has this one little scene, but he kills it as Lucifer. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful episode. Dark. There's no light. There's no humor. Well, except for the panties. And but it's really marvelously done and just a killer episode.
But it does get them back together again.
It does, because because Dean realizes that he needs Sam to keep him human, and Sam needs him to keep him human. So where they have split up at the beginning of the season, it drives them back together, and they realize they really do have to fight this all as a team. And so we're back to Team Winchester, which is, of course, always good.
Yep. Sumiko.
Definitely. I think it's called Abandon Yell Hope. The one where death is introduced. I love the portrayal of death in this season, and that version of the song "Oh Death" that they had was so good. That has really stuck with me over the years. But yeah, what a character. All of the horsemen were really great, but that was something really special there. So yeah, that is definitely my favorite episode of the season. And I think that at that point there was also I think sort of they were having to have maybe a different kind of relationship, I think, with Crawley by that point as well. So yeah, that would be my favorite.
Okay. Elektra.
Oh, I gotta go look up the name of it. The song remains the same. I'm a time travel junkie, and this is the Terminator episode for Supernatural, where Anna goes back to the past and tries to kill Mary before Sam and Dean are born, and Cass brings Sam and Dean back to the past to try and prevent it, and angels are throwing on bodies right and left, trying to change the past before it becomes the future. And plot points are revealed right and left. And it's really, really, really fun. And this is, where we find out just how much John will give up for his family, and just how much Mary cares about her family, and just how much Sam and Dean will go through to keep their piece of it together. And it's a really well-written episode. It gives us a little bit of limitations on the angels and their time hopping, and we get, Anna comes back and, well, they have help, so I'm going to go get Uriel. And it's just so much fun and twists and turns. And in the end, we come back to the present, and the boys are more strongly united, but we're still stuck, and we're still headed toward the end of the season where will he, won't he, will he, won't he? And we're headed toward that awful conflagration. Season 5 is just a really, really good season.
Anna?
Okay, so I'm going to go with Dark Side of the Moon. So in this episode, it begins with Dean waking up in bed in some random motel room and realizes that the gun that is always under his pillow is missing. And he sits up, and there are 2 men in masks in the room with them. And they start, sort of talking or whatever. And he recognizes them as 2 hunters, and they are there to kill Sam for starting the apocalypse. And Dean calls them by name, and then they, sort of like freak out because they've been made, but they're there to kill Sam for starting the apocalypse. And so they do. And then there's something about Dean's voice when he looks at them and he tells Roy, because they're like, well, we're here to kill Sam, we don't need to kill Dean too. And one of them tells the other, dude, we just shot his brother. You want Dean Winchester on your ass? Shoot him, because I don't. And Dean tells Roy to shoot him, but when he comes back, he's going to be pissed. And it's just like chills go down your spine with the way that Dean, you believe him. So then they're both killed, and they are in heaven. And so Dean's trip to heaven is a road, of course it is, and he has to get into the car and drive along the road, which is called back later in the last episode of the season. And so we get a lot of Dean's memories of growing up with Sam and all of Dean's significant memories and all about how they're, being with Sam. But we also get Sam's memories, significant memories that he is thinking of in heaven and revisiting in heaven. But they have nothing to do with Dean. They're somebody else's Thanksgiving. They're running away and leaving Dean and his dad to think that they're dead. It's the night that he left for Stanford. And while these are significant to Sam for reasons that aren't about abandoning Dean, all Dean can feel when he finds out that these are Sam's best memories is abandonment. And he's also just generally not impressed with heaven because there's no triplets and where's the latex and all these kinds of Dean-like things. But this is also where we learn that everybody has their own heaven, except for certain people who share a heaven, mostly soulmates. And it turns out that Sam and Dean share a heaven. So in a lot of ways, it's a very significant episode for certain genres of fan fiction.
Well, and I still believe that the angels tampered with what they saw, because I don't think that those were Sam's real top favorites. I think the angels tampered with what Dean saw to drive a wedge between them, because they were doing that with everything else. So that's my fan lens for this, and my headcanon, and I'm sticking to it.
I'll buy that.
I'm gonna go with the real Ghostbusters. We didn't get a whole lot of light moments in this season because we were literally coming up to the apocalypse. But the real Ghostbusters, pardon me, Becky tricks the boys into coming to a supernatural convention. She actually steals Chuck's phone to do it. And they walk in and they find out everybody is LARPing as them, that they are at this hotel that's supposedly haunted, and all of the guests are supposed to solve this mystery to get a $50 restaurant gift card. And it's all based on the Carter Edlund books, so they're quoting these lines back and forth to each other that Sam and Dean really said to each other, but really don't want to hear it from other people. And there's squirrely little Chuck up on stage talking about the books. And then it turns out there really is a haunting. There really are murderous ghosts. And there's this unlikely set of heroes who emerge from the crowd, who are there to play supernatural. They still don't believe Sam and Dean are the real Sam and Dean, but they step up to the plate because they realize something's really wrong, and people are going to get hurt. And so they actually are very helpful. And they also find out that digging graves is a lot harder than they make it look. And so the ghosts are vanquished. Sam and Dean threaten Chuck if he continues to write the series. And we find out that the guys who were LARPing as Sam and Dean are actually a couple, and they're together. But the best part is when one of them says to Dean, "I don't think you get it. I don't think you understand the story." And Dean's kind of taken aback, and he said, I fix copiers. He has an office job. We're nobodies. But what if you had somebody a brother who would die for you? Man, who wouldn't want that? And Dean, you can see it just kind of sets him back on his heels. He realizes that for all the problems they've had, here's this outsider telling him that his life and his relationship with Sam is really to be envied. And so I just love that episode because it's got it all. It's got a lot of humor. It's got legitimate spooky stuff. The ghosts were very well done. And then it's got those kind of revelation moments that just kind of bring it home. It was a very well written episode.
I thought that it was
Carole,
interesting that the ghost story in this particular episode, it seems, because at the same time that I was rewatching season 5 for this, I was also, or around the same time, I was also rewatching season 5 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And there's a similar sort of ghost setup of a home for children, and the headmistress of the home for children is not the holy person caretaker that you think that she is. It turns out that she is actually the abusive person. So it was sort of coincidental that I happened to be watching both season 5s of these 2 episodes. And there's some, I don't know, for lack of a better word, crossover.
Nice
Mhm.
juxtaposition.
Carole, round 2.
Round 2, changing channels. Oh, a veritable masterpiece of an episode. So much going on, so beautifully and brilliantly done. Sam and Dean find themselves first on the like in a kitchen of a sitcom with the happy perky intro and all of this, and everything's very bright colors, and Dean has an enormous sandwich, and then he's got a bikini babe who comes out because they're doing research, Dean. And they end up going through basically different sets of different shows, and each one is brilliantly parodied. So we have Grey's Anatomy, and with the doctors, and seriously, and the passionate affairs, and there's even a doctor who's seeing a ghost, which is a great play because, of course, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was Denny Duquette on Grey's, who played a ghost. And yeah, so it's just really, that's really great. They're on a Japanese game show, which doesn't go well for Sam. They're on a CSI style show, which they just skewer mercilessly. Unfortunately, they also skewer the wrong man. So that doesn't go well. And they try to rebel. And so when Sam rebels, he ends up in a commercial for genital herpes medication. And everything that they're in is just so brilliant, so on point. And they're finding that they have to like kind of just play along to get through everything, and ultimately find out after Sam is turned into Baby, or he becomes part of Baby, and then Dean has to rummage in his trunk, where Sam's like, that's really uncomfortable, Dean. That it's all a matter of a trickster, and it's the trickster. Only, you know what? Even the trickster doesn't have that much power, and it turns out that he's Gabriel. And this is when we get the big reveal that the trickster is actually the Archangel Gabriel in basically witness protection. But he is still trying to pull strings to make Sam and Dean realize that they have to play their roles, they have to play their parts, so that the great angel battle of Michael versus Lucifer can happen, yada, yada, yada. They're like, thanks, but no thanks. And they leave him stuck in a ring of holy fire while they skedaddle. And they had to have so much fun doing this, because that costumes and everything that's happening around them is just marvelous, 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 marvelous. And yet in the end also, that we have this point driven home again about who they are, what their roles are, how desperately Michael and Lucifer want their vessels so that they can, create this apocalypse, and the boys basically thumbing their noses at them. So wonderful, wonderful, tons of humor, just a great, great piece of work.
Okay. Sumiko.
Yeah, as a horror romance writer, I have a soft place in my heart for My Bloody Valentine, because it just gets right in there with the obsessed lovers falling deeper and deeper in love, and eating each other basically. So yeah, and so they think that this is something that Cupid did, which, if you know anything about that particular set of gods, you could see why they might think that, but it wasn't Cupid at all. It was actually Famine showing up as another horseman, and then we start getting all the other types of things that people are really hungry for. And it's interesting that they did it that way, because people don't think of love as a hunger. but it really is. It's something that people want, and not just lust, but actually love itself. But then they kind of go deeper into the rabbit hole with the other types of like more literal hungers, like binge eating and stuff like that. And you know, I'm not spoiling it because we've all seen it. They have to cut his ring off his finger. So, but yeah, I love that episode. It's
Okay.
yeah.
Elektra. Oh,
And can I just have to comment that the actor who plays Famine is just amazing. He portrays this, like, on the one hand, enfeebled, elderly, but yet so powerful. And so, the whole spirit of the consuming, he just really and typifies that. And then we have that great Banff moment of Sam pulling all the souls he's eaten back out of him. And it's just, it's such a great ending, after all of this piggy stuff going on.
okay. Elektra.
99 Problems. If for nothing else, because it has one of the best teasers in all of Supernatural. As Sam and Dean drive down the road in Baby, running away from a car full of demons, and they're blocked off by a burning car, and they're trapped, and they don't know what to do, and they are rescued by an entire fire engine full of other guys who drive in there, spray the demons with holy water, and exorcise them. And then they explain to Sam and Dean that, it's the apocalypse. Those are demons. And, we're the Sacrament Lutheran militia. Those are demons. This is the apocalypse. So buckle up. And Sam and Dean are like, wait a sec. That doesn't happen every day. We got a live one here. And they follow these guys back, because that's what it feels like to have, backup. Wow, cool. And it turns out that maybe all is not well back in the town where these guys are from. And it's a little bit interesting there. And we discover that things are not always what they seem. It seems like a nice enough town full of nice enough people. They're all good church going folk. And the minister's daughter is the one who's telling them all what to do. And she knows who Sam and Dean are and tells them Sam and Dean are okay. And then things go a little bit off the rails. And after we get things all straightened out there, after Sam and Dean have disagreed a bit on how to deal, and Dean goes roaring off, leaving Sam standing there behind him. And he goes off to talk to Lisa because, he needs to resolve issues. And he wants to make sure that she knows things are about to get really, really bad. And, he wants to make sure everything is okay for them, which is great. But, he's left Sam behind for the moment, and things will get better. But the way that one starts just has always burned in my mind.
Okay.
Also, Michael Shanks. So
So I love Point of No Return, the episode after 99 Problems, because we have this opening scene with Zachariah, the angel, in a bar day drinking, and he's wearing his, Mr. Adler suit, and he's sitting next to another middle manager who's also wearing a suit, who apparently also has been pink slipped, and the two of them are like bitching to each other about corporate America, and it's just so delightful because Zechariah is using all of the words that this middle manager in corporate America completely understands, and he's not lying about anything at all. He is saying things like, when the other guy asks him what was his crime against humanity, Zechariah says, deal of the millennium, which it is, but that he couldn't even get one simple yes that he needed, and that's all they care about upstairs, results, and he just keeps talking about about management upstairs and what they what they care about. And it's just, I don't know, like I have a day job and there's aspects of this that feel a little close. So it's just delightful to watch the two of them interact, even though we, the viewers, know that Zachariah is talking about his failures as an angel in bringing about the apocalypse and how he has to answer to God and to Michael, the archangel. And this poor bastard just has to answer to, I don't know, like, Acme Corp or whatever. And then we also get the line that is, again, this season 5 is so filled with fanfic delights, sources for the fanfic, because this is the episode where we get the line about how Sam and Dean are psychotically, irrationally, erotically codependent on one another. And then at the end, we have
Angel's mouth.
Right? Straight from the angel's mouth, right? Like heaven knows that this is what their relationship is really like. But then at the end, we have what we find out later is called the BM moment, the boy melodrama moment, where Dean apologizes to Sam for not trusting him enough to stay strong and say no to Lucifer. And so, they make up and we're barreling towards the season finale where Sam will say yes to Lucifer and save the world.
All through this season, Kurt Fuller takes Zachariah and just portrays such a great, horrible, and yes, very corporate type of person. I've subsequently used him many times as the bad guy in a story because he's just so good at it. But he's what a great character actor.
He is great.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with The Curious Case of Dean Winchester. And this is one where they find out that Bobby was in a poker game and he did not realize he was wagering with a witch and he lost. And so he lost like 25 years of his life. So he's really on death's doorstep. So Dean says, well, okay, I'll win it back for you. And then we see Dean, who also lost and is now gray haired and older. And so now they try to learn more about this witch who the actor who plays that whole character is just a terrific, not quite villain. He's not really in it because he's evil. He just kind of likes messing with people and kind of taking them down a peg with their hubris. And we learn more about him, and he's not really a bad guy. He's just not using his superpowers for true good. And so Sam comes in and decides he's going to play to get the years back for both Dean and Bobby. Now, what had been going on outside of the show is that Jared was playing in high stakes real life poker tournaments in Vegas and winning. So, kind of a nice in-joke there. And of course we get Chad Everett playing older Dean and, saying lines like, well, when you get to be our age, Sammy, and he goes, Dean, you're 30. But, he looks 70. So Sam, of course, wins. He wins big. He gets the years back for Dean and Bobby. And then we find out that the witch has kept his lover alive all these years with the same youth spell. And she says, I'm tired of it. I want to go. I'm done. And so it's really poignant because he loses her by her choice. And so she cashes out and she ages and dies. And I would have loved, he's one of the characters, just like in Shut Up, Dr. Phil, where we had James Marsters and I would have loved to have seen those witches come back again as frenemies, just as something, because they were absolutely delicious as witches. And I would have loved to have seen more of them. Yeah. All right, round 3, back to you, Carole.
Well, and we actually also see the witch at one point refuse someone to play because he's like, no, you've got enough back now that you can see, you'll be able to spend time with your grandchildren. He's like, you're not playing
Mhm.
anymore. So you see
Mhm.
that he does have some of those good instincts. And just the moment when he realizes how Sam has played him, he's like, very method, and it's wonderful. And to the younger folks, Chad Everett was the hot young romantic doctor lead on Medical Center, which would be the comparison these days would be, let's say he was the Derek Shepherd, okay, from Grey's Anatomy. He was the heartthrob and everything. So it was just wonderful to see him have so much fun in such a great little character role like that.
And he honestly
yeah, I
still
love that.
managed to handle Dean Winchester. You didn't doubt the Dean.
Right. He just so embodied it. You just knew it was Dean. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's wonderful. I'm gonna go with the finale, Swan Song.
Mm.
I have yet to this day to watch that episode without at least getting tears in my eyes. Always gets tears in my eyes. Part of the deal with Death, when Death gives them his ring, is that Sam must say yes because that's their opportunity to try and trap him in the cage with the 4 horsemen's rings. So that's what they're going to do, and Sam's all for it. And of course, Dean and Bobby think he's nuts, but he chugs down like 5 gallons of demon blood. Like, I don't know where he put it and why he didn't spend the next 3 hours just having to go to the bathroom. But he chugs those gallons down. He says yes. Lucifer immediately swoops him away. And Dean decides he's gonna go there. He's gonna go where the big showdown's gonna be, because Sam is not gonna be there alone. And so he goes. Terrible things happen. Bobby dies. Cass dies. But Sam makes it out. And the episode itself is framed in a beautiful way where we see Baby coming off the line. So brand new, here's her owner, here's her other owner. And then John buys her, and how she, wasn't the most important car on the day she was made, but she really, really was, because she's the car that saved the world. Because as Samifer and Dean are fighting, it's Baby that reawakens Sam's psyche enough to fight Lucifer off and get control to throw the rings down, open the cage, and throw himself in. And it's wonderfully done. Dean is an unrecognizable pulp at that point. Poor Adam has been dragged along as Michael's vessel and ends up going into the cage with Sam, where he will then languish for like the next, almost 15 years. And it's so good. The heartbreak at the end. Bobby and Cass are resurrected, but of course Dean's devastated. Sam is gone. He has no hope, of getting him back. He goes off to suburbia land, as he promised Sam he would do, and he goes to Lisa. And so that the heartbreak at the end there, yay, they won, but Dean is, just devastated. So wonderful episode, wraps up that 5 seasons in a really strong, masterful, dramatic way. Originally this was posited to be the end. This was Kripke's song. He leaves, showrunner. And had they left it there, it would have been a terribly sad ending, but it worked. And it's just really a terrific episode. Great music. They just really go all out in this.
Okay, the framing of it.
Oh,
It's narrated by Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, he his clothing turns white and he disappears, which is your first big clue.
Well,
He
and
might be more than he seems.
and the series got renewed, so we see Sam under the streetlight. Dean doesn't know he's there, but we get a clue for season 6 that Sam is going to come back. And I love the story that Jensen has told at cons, where when his real life brother watched the episode and Sam is just pounding the crap out of Dean there at Stull Cemetery, Josh Ackles actually had to get up and walk away because he said, all I saw was my little brother getting beat up. And Jared says, is that why Josh wouldn't talk to me the last time I saw him? Jensen says, yes. So there's Jensen's real life older brother being protected. And I just thought that was a very interesting insight. Sumiko, back to you.
Wow, we're running out of episodes. But I'm gonna go to the one right before that, which is 2 Minutes to Midnight. Yeah. So first of all, Pestilence. I love that actor. I love everything about him. Did remind me a lot of when he was in The Stand as Trash Can Man. But with these gross sores, there was a lot of really great body horror in this whole episode, as Sam and Dean got hit with all the diseases, and it was just really kind of gut-wrenching and nasty. And yeah, I actually love gross horror, so I really enjoyed that part of the episode. But then, there's a comic, edge to that part. But then they find out that, in this episode, that Bobby has sold his soul in order to get the location. So that's a little bit of kind of like the first hit of that grief that you experience at the end is finding out that Bobby has given up his soul. They have trusted Crawley, but the devil isn't really actually so great. So they're already dealing with a lot of personal grief in that episode. But I love the way that, like so many episodes of this show, they could combine body horror, gore, and humor with all this really human emotion and connection. So I'm gonna go with that episode.
Okay, awesome. Elektra.
Well, it's a stellar season in a lot of ways, and the way it starts gives us a good idea of what's going to happen. Sympathy for the devil. First, Sam and Dean are trapped with Lucifer, and then suddenly they're on a plane with no idea of how they got there. And then they get themselves off the plane when it lands, and now they find Chuck was okay, but Zachariah shows up, and now he wants Dean to go kill Lucifer. And in order to kill Lucifer, well, congratulations, Dean, you have won the lottery. You are Michael's vessel. And we're playing this whole game, and then Becky shows up with a message from Chuck saying that this cryptic message that they later figure out leads them to one of Dad's old hidey holes, and they're looking for the Michael sword, and until they figure out that the sword is the vessel and it isn't actually a tool of some sort, it's really Dean. And meanwhile, here in Delaware, nearby where I am up in Pike Creek, we see the emergence of Nick. And this is also the episode where Cass carves those lovely Enochian sigils into their ribs, so they can't be found by angels quite so easily, because Zach was chasing them around, and he spends the rest of the season trying to find them to force them to do what he wants, which is brother versus brother. And we're getting, the whole 5th season is about the brother versus brother. And, it's your job. You have to let the angels wear you and fight it out. And they're like, yeah, right. No, not us. And they just keep fighting with the angels and with whoever else comes by. No, we're not going to do what you say. We're going to do what we're going to do because Winchesters. And this sets it off really, really well from the start.
Okay. Anna.
So yeah, between 2 Minutes to Midnight and My Bloody Valentine's, Sumiko took all of my favorite episodes because I too like the hilarious, gross, like body horror episodes. Yeah, and they both also just have like really just delightful lines in them. In 2 Minutes to Midnight, we've got Bobby's line where Crowley fixes his legs and Dean asks him how he's feeling and he's like, how did it go with the Rockettes audition? He's like, high kicks, great, boobs need work. And in My Bloody Valentine, we've got, Valentine's Day being Dean's favorite holiday, unattached drifter Christmas. But in my last episode of that I really enjoy in this season, I'm going to go with Free to Be You and Me, mostly because of the beginning montage. So Sam and Dean have separated because Sam is hurt and betrayed that, Sam let Lucifer out. And feels like he can't trust Sam. And so, they're sort of gone in their own different ways. And at the beginning of this episode, we hear the Lynyrd Skynyrd song, A Simple Man, and we watch Sam and Dean doing their separate things in separate locations, but they're doing the same things, right? So there's a shot of Sam cutting lemons at a bar while Dean is cutting the head off a vampire with just a bigger knife. And Sam is washing down the bar top with a towel, and Dean is washing the car with a slightly bigger towel. And it's just like, I don't know, I feel like there was all these scenes in so many episodes in this season that really revealed all of the details about these characters and who they are and who the show creator created them to be and how he understood them and how he really, really was able to portray them. That I don't know, I just really enjoyed whatever else happened in that episode, right? Like, this is what I remember this episode about, and this is what I really enjoyed about this episode and several other episodes that do the same kind of thing, that show it without dialogue, without action, or with just wordless action of who these people are and why we should care about them. So it was one of my favorite episodes for those reasons.
I'm going to round us out with another somewhat comedic episode. For all of the heartrending stuff that happened in season 5, there were also a lot of funny episodes where, as Supernatural loves to do, they get you laughing and then they rip your heart out with something poignant. Supernatural is excellent at doing that. But Swap Meet.
Yes.
Here's where you've got a cluster of teenagers who are messing around with stuff they shouldn't mess around with. They're trying to work some spells, and this boy, this kind of nerdy teenage boy, gets swapped into Sam's body. And this is season 5 Sam, almost as beefy as season 6 Sam when he's doing those pull-ups. It is not the nerdy, gangly teenager body. And so this kid thinks he has hit the jackpot. And he's going to go to a bar and have a drink. And he's going to get
the sex.
the sex. Yes. He's going to get laid. And of course, he has no idea what he's doing, ends up picking up this cougar dominatrix type. Poor Sam, his body is just along for the ride. And Sam is stuck in the teenager's body trying to figure out what's going on. And
And
it ends up
finding
being
out
not quite so.
gluten intolerance.
And So, we find out it's not quite as innocent as just messing around with a spell book. One of the kids has, given themselves over to a demon, and this demon knows who Sam and Dean are, and he's trying to get to them. Meanwhile, Dean's trying to figure out what's wrong with Sam. It's kind of his job. And what's wrong with Sam this time, because he is really acting weird. And so finally figures out, and then Sam finally gets loose and calls him, and they figure out that the bodies got swapped and figure out how to get the right person back in the right body. But the physical comedy is so funny. Watching Jared play this nerdy kid who suddenly got Sam's body like it's a Ferrari and he's going to take it for a test drive. And it is just hysterical. And Jared did such a great job with that. And well, it of course has poignant moments, don't they all? It was just so much fun to kind of see that happen. Well, folks, we have blown through our time.
There's a body swap episode in season 5 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer too. FYI.
Mm-hmm. Gee, it's almost like they were paying attention.
Right? It's almost like Eric Kripke was a fan of that series.
Because, Buffy was on quite a few years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, but Kripke was a fan of Buffy. And, I think that while he described the show as Star Wars, truck stop Star Wars, I think that he could have just as easily called it Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in a blue collar Buffy in a muscle car. Like, I think he could have called it that and would have conveyed the same feeling.
Yeah. Well, folks, we have blown through our time, as we always do. We're just having too much fun. So before we wrap, let's let everybody know where we can find you online. And if you have a new, recent, or upcoming book or project, let us know. Carole.
I'm Carole M. Stokes on Facebook, where you can find me a lot of times in the TFWNC group and Continual. All of my fanfic is on AO3 under Firesign 10. I'm on Twitter as true_Firesign10. And as Ellis Colton, all of my social media links are on elliscolton.card, that's CARRD.co.
Okay. And you have a new book?
And I have a new book that just came out this past week called Prescription for Love. It's a contemporary male-male romance, and it is now available on Amazon.
Very good. Sumiko.
You can find me online at SumikoSaulson.com. SumikoSaulson.com. I have a book, Happiness and Other Diseases, that's on mochamemoirs.press, and I'm in their most recent zombie anthology, which is Blackened Roots.
All right. Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. Find me online at untilmidnight.com and find me on Mastodon at Elektra@wandering.shop.
Very good. Anna.
You can find me at my website, annakensing.com. I'm on sort of most of the social media websites, but I'm not terribly active on social media these days. I do have a couple of new box sets of my Victorian paranormal queer romance series, the Octopian Shifter series. I have the full series plus a bonus short story available on all of the sites except for Amazon. And then on Amazon, I have two shorter box sets of the series. So the full set is called Octopian Shifters Collective, and the two smaller box sets are called Ships and Secrets and Tides and Tentacles. And those two are available on Amazon.
Very nice. And I'm pretty easy to find at gailcmartin.com, morganbryce.com. All of my social media are under one or both of those names. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. I do run the Supernatural TFWNC group here on Facebook. I'm a columnist for the Winchester Family Business Blog. The most recent book is Roustabout under my Morgan Bryce name. We'll be bringing out a re-release of Scourge, the first book in the Darkhurst series. And the next book up under Morgan Bryce is the next book in the Witchbane series. So something to look forward to, as well as a lot of new original short stories and novellas for the holidays. Well, folks, thank you so much for being here. You've been wonderful, wonderful panelists. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural coming up soon. So we'll see you online.
Thank you. Bye.